It always feels weird when I'm the one that does it instead of Steve. Here we go.
It's the War Report coming live every Tuesday at 7 with Steve, Matt, Ryan, Amanda, and Eric. And the voice of AEW, Vince Berry. Hitting all the topics like a clothesline flurry. Turn up your speakers and hear them out. You can listen from your car, even on your couch. They too raw, who NXT, handing out SmackDowns, follow on IG+. It's sponsored by Tag Me a Date. Go to YouTube and check out for every update. It's all wrestling here. No safe space. Now listen in. Time to hear from some of the greats.
Oh, is this going to have a long intro? I might have to skip a spooky intro. I am going to have to spook. Wow. Ooh. I want to know who let Malachi Black pick a 10-minute long song as his intro music.
It's freaking cool, though.
It is. Where's the part? Oh, here we go. So, yes, welcome to the War Report, brought to you by TagMeADate.com, the first and only dating site exclusively for fans of professional wrestling. Steve's not here. It's kind of it's weird. I was on vacation last week. He's on vacation this week. But we're here.
And I'm here 2 weeks in a row as the sub.
That's a record for anybody. Any one of this crew having anybody on for 2 weeks in a row is a pretty good record. But we are here to talk all things wrestling.
That's pretty scary with me, with what I have going on around my life, that I'm the consistent one.
Yeah, I know. You just, packed up and moved to like a completely different region of the United States. Yeah,
yeah, a little something,
Right? But there's a lot to talk about. I'm so not happy that I missed the conversation about the NXT releases last week and all of the things that were happening.
We didn't have the NXT release happened after. So the only thing we discussed last week, Steve and I only talked about Bray Wyatt. The NXT 12 happened the following day.
And so okay, back up. I'm mad I didn't get to talk about Bray Wyatt. I still have a lot of bitching to do about that. So be prepared, everybody. Saddle up. I'm that annoys me. That annoys me to But I'm also happy because now he gets to go do his own thing.
Mm-hmm. Did
Whether
you see
that's
that?
AEW or whatever. But
did you see that tweet that Ryan showed earlier or whatever of the new
look?
Oh,
hey! I thought he wasn't going to be on the show. What's all this about?
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys can hear me very well.
We can.
got you.
I figured I'd jump in just to say a quick hello and have a great show.
Right.
But I don't know
if
I can.
You have impeccable timing. We were just about to discuss the NXT 12.
Yeah. Oh, you suck.
This is my view
I
right
hate
now.
you.
Oh, I hope you drop your fucking phone into that pool.
And I can't hear a goddamn thing.
Because
I don't have
you hear
earbuds.
us or no?
He doesn't have earbuds.
It's very low. Well, it's very low because there's a lot of background noise because the beach is crashing and all the good shit.
Oh, of course.
But have a great show. I'm sorry I can't be there, but we're about to go out. But kill it as always, and I will be back next week.
Have fun.
Right,
Happy anniversary.
Yes, happy anniversary. Enjoy your trip.
Oh, thank you guys. I really appreciate it, and I will see you guys next week. Have a great show.
Next week.
Bye, sweetie.
All right. So back to how Nick Khan and Vince McMahon can suck a big old dick. Sorry for that brief interruption. Oh my God. So in the last week, which we've talked about Bray Wyatt, they talked about on the show when I wasn't here last week.
Mm-hmm.
he got released, which was a shock.
I can't hear a goddamn thing.
Oh,
How did we just get the stream?
I have no idea how the hell that happened, but maybe we have WWE technology.
I know, right? They're tapping into my phone. They're going to offer me a contract, and then as soon as I sign it, they're going to fire me.
Well, you'd still have more money than you do right now, so it might not be such a terrible thing.
But see, that's the way people are looking at it, and they go, "Oh, well, at least if I get signed and released, I make some money." I'm like, "Yeah, but at this point, is it worth it? You got to pack your whole fucking family up to move to Orlando, and then maybe you get a shot on TV, and then maybe they use you, and then maybe they change your name and your gimmick and everything about you until they have nothing left, and then they just release you as a carcass onto the indies."
And wish you well as your future endeavors.
Right. Bray Wyatt, the more has come out, Bray Wyatt has said that he's told reporters that asked that the report about his mental health was not correct.
Right.
That he was not being kept off of TV due to that. The weird thing is he was supposed to come back last night. He was on the schedule to come back last night, and they cut him a week ago, which I still can't wrap my mind around, that you take this guy who's been a homegrown guy, one of your core FCW, NXT, main roster, world champion, WrestleMania main eventer. I mean, how many times can I say this about somebody and then they just up and fucking release them? It's
yeah. And he was originally supposed to win at WrestleMania too. Vince changed that the day of.
None of this makes sense. They bought into that character more than they had any right to.
Mm-hmm.
They went full bore when most people get like a week. They're like, "Hey, Vince, try my idea." And they do it for a week.
Yeah.
They stuck with this guy's gimmick. Every time he changed it up, they would stick with it for years.
Yeah.
The original Swamp Preacher Man was years. The Fiend turned into a multi-year character. They built a whole universe around it. And then they just decided, hey, well, we built this whole Firefly Funhouse universe. We're just going to take it. We're going to move it over to Alexa Bliss. And then Bray Wyatt, we'll see you later.
Yeah, and she's unnecessarily getting a lot of heat for that, too. That's not her fault.
It's not her fault. I feel bad. And that's the other thing was one of Bray Wyatt's Instagram posts that I guess was deleted recently because it started making rounds again was about how fans complained. Like what they wanted him back, but then they complained about how he was being used or what the matches were like. And honestly, it's so hard to criticize the WWE and their booking decisions without the talent catching shrapnel from it.
Right.
And it's hard to separate because there is no such thing as Wyndham Rotunda on WWE television. There is only Bray Wyatt.
Mm-hmm.
That's all we have to go on. So when we say we don't like Bray Wyatt or what he was doing, like, I'll tell you what, the thing that I didn't like was he had this feud with The Miz where he was like basically like stalking The Miz's family and putting the creepy doll in the crib and all this stuff. And then he came out as not the Fiend in the sweater vest and wrestled the whole match in a sweater vest.
Mr. Rogers, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I understand kind of what they were trying to do. There were things that were hit or miss about it, but overall, I really enjoyed, Bray's interpretation of things that were going on. Once again, he's somebody who had a very creative idea that was changed by WWE Creative and made to not resemble what it didn't turn out the way that he anticipated it would. Same thing with, Malachi, now Alistair Malachi, whatever, Black.
But that's just it. That's the infuriating part. It's like, okay, it didn't come out how Vince McMahon wanted it to or how he expected it to. Who gives a shit? The fans were enjoying it.
Yeah, and that's the line that they toe. We'll go all the way back to 2012. Zack Ryder was the only person that worked at WWE that knew how to use YouTube. Just nobody else was using it.
Yep.
He created his own show. He was the first person to really get over on the internet like that with the YouTube thing and the creativity behind it. And he showed that he was showing more personality on YouTube than they allowed to show him on TV.
Absolutely.
And that was the issue.
Mm-hmm.
They were like, oh, well, you have to show your personality on our terms, or you have to use these skits on our terms. Because if you remember, there was a point where Z True Long Island Story, due to contractual obligations, had to get moved from Zack Ryder's YouTube channel to the official WWE YouTube channel,
Yep.
and they were being produced by them. Whereas Zack would just shoot the stuff he was going to shoot and upload it to his channel. It
Right.
now had to go through this extra layer of creative.
Mhm.
That was and then you saw what happened to him. He gets pushed off a stage by Kane. John Cena steals his girl. It's like all this shit to punish him for being creative, and that just has been the MO of this company for a very long time.
And that ticked him off too. Also, everybody off when he had his Long Island, New York moment when he became Intercontinental Champion and everything like that. You make him drop it the next freaking night.
Yeah, and that was the thing. It was almost like, and again, it was like punishing the fans for rooting. It's like, why are you rooting? You don't want to root for this guy.
Why do you want to root for this guy? Yeah, why aren't you cheering for Roman Reigns? You should.
But this has always been the case. Even,
I know, but it just seems like it's getting worse.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. It's definitely getting worse. Things get worse as you get older. But
wasn't it? It was kind of nice when we were kids and we just didn't know why they went away.
I was just thinking that because, like, I remember when Stone Cold walked out of Raw because he didn't want to put over Brock Lesnar.
Mm-hmm.
How do I show these comments on the screen?
I don't know. It says at this point we can only. Oh, there you go.
There it is. Yeah. At this point, we can only hope he goes to AEW and they give him the creative control he should have had with the Fiend character. Yes, but also maybe he doesn't want to do the Fiend character anymore. Maybe he wants to go do something completely different. On social media, filmed at the same time in the same location with the same cast and crew as Malachi Black's AEW intro video. It was a video that Buddy Murphy just posted on Twitter. It's continuing the story of these guys being held in prison for however many years.
Mm-hmm.
And they're they both escaped from the same prison. That's the whole gimmick of these videos. They're tied together. Somebody was commenting on that. What if there's a third video that comes out that the next escaped inmate from this prison is Wyndham Rotunda or Wyndham Black or whatever? Like maybe he's another one of. Maybe they're all going to be like in a group together as
That'd be an interesting faction. Yeah.
A dark, because I feel like, I don't know, not that Malachi Black or Bray Wyatt would need any kind of team behind them, but like the spooky guys, you know what I mean? You put those guys together, or some people have even said that he would be a good fit, but they say for everybody, he would be a good fit for the Dark Order, Bray Wyatt, to continue on Brody's legacy.
That would be the more obvious thing to do because of Brody, yeah.
Yeah, and I wonder if, they said, they've kind of said that they've stuck with Brody is still the leader. Brody Jr. is technically the current leader, and they're not looking for another one. But, if Bray Wyatt comes along, you got to feel like they at least play with the idea.
But even still, even if they let Brody Jr. still be it, the interaction between Wyndham and Brody Jr. would actually be kind of cool. He grew up knowing this man.
Right. And maybe the kid's like, hey, look after these guys until I'm 18 or whatever.
Right. Like they could come up with something that would be genius to be able to utilize that. And we all know this because even Wyndham made it very apparent that, he was devastated by that and really couldn't do anything much, contraction because of the contraction with the WWE when Brody died. So this would be a great shot for him to be able to do it.
It would be cool if they could do something like that to kind of acknowledge Brody's impact on the Dark Order while continuing to move it along.
Right, but that would be a brilliant way to do it.
Right. Oh, yeah. And as Steve says, anything he's going to do is gold. Absolutely. Steve wants to see a new version of the Wyatt family in AEW, bringing Wyatt, Braun, and even Rowan. Listen, Rowan, I liked Rowan making that run-in during the Brody show.
Yes.
The Memorial show. That was great. I was going to say I don't really think I need to see Eric Rowan every week on Dynamite, but the good part about it is AEW doesn't really double up. Like usually people, if you see somebody on Dynamite, unless they're one of the champions, you won't see them the next week. You might see them the week after. They kind of space everybody out, and when it's somebody's time to cycle into a story, they're on the TV more, and then when they're not, they're on Dark and they're on Elevation, or maybe they're on Rampage. So like if I would have no problem with Rowan coming in as like a big kind of, maybe the backup to Reynolds and Silver, because he almost looks like a big John Silver. He could be like his big buddy. Like I would be okay with that. Like he doesn't have to be on TV all the time. So I don't know who. I don't know if they would be interested in bringing him in. Braun, I don't know. Here's the thing: I don't know where Braun's head is at. It looks like Kat dropped out. Looks like she's having some connection issues. So I don't know where Braun Strowman's head is at from a comment on his Instagram. Somebody was asking about his powerlifting, and he says he's not going to be able to powerlift anymore because he is suffering from paralysis in one of his legs. He said it's about 15% paralysis. So he's not able to do the same powerlifting and strongman stuff that he was doing. And I don't know if he's going to wrestle anymore. The guy just put up a picture. He bought a big, beautiful house that's just being built, like in the middle of nowhere in the woods. It seems like he saved his money. Never know. He might just be done. He could just do autograph signings the rest of his life. He could be a stuntman in movies or, whatever. He could do just about anything he wants to it with his size and his personality. He can do anything in entertainment. Bring up a comment from Steve here that says WWE should take note of it. Same matches and same booking every week, unlike AEW. So yes, this is what it boils down to. I was doing some research. Well, people on the internet did some research, and I happened to follow up. Yes, I broke my Pakistani title. Don't talk about it. I'm still mad. Did some research. AEW currently, they consider it one roster. Because there's really not a Dynamite roster or a Dark roster, even though there are levels and Rampage is coming in. But we'll call it one AEW roster, has the same amount of men as the two main rosters of WWE combined. And somehow, even though AEW has literally twice the employees, their matches seem fresher. And why? That's because, as I said, they cycle these guys in and out. A lot of people's complaints, like on the internet, they complain about Hikaru Shida. Oh, she lost the title and now she's only been on Dark. Why isn't she on Dynamite more? Well, if she's on Dynamite more, you have to take time away from somebody else. They're playing a delicate balance right now, especially with just one show, of getting enough TV time for everybody. The complaints about the women's roster are valid, and they need more TV time and they should be featured more. But here's the thing. Even though AEW Dark is the YouTube show and Dark Elevation is like a step below that, I guess, they're still counting towards the records of these wrestlers. So when you haven't seen, like, let's say you don't watch the YouTube stuff, and the next time you see Shida, she's got 10 more wins than you saw the last time you watched her on Dynamite. You go, oh, wait, how'd she get all these wins? And they go, oh, she's been on a 10-match winning streak on Dark or on Elevation. You go, oh, shit, she's been on a 10-match winning streak. Okay, now she's ranked number 5 or number 3 or whatever. That's why she's on Dynamite, because she went on a winning streak, and now she's back up in the rankings. It's how sports work. And I know there's this delicate balance between feeling like a sport and acting like a sport and having rules like a sport, and then defying the sports thing, because it's really sports is a pastiche or a film over it. It's really a drama. It's a television show that happens to be the theme of a sport. But when you don't properly use the confines or the rules of that sport, it gets away from you. My one thing is always like, when WWE makes a booking decision that seems silly within the universe, I say, well, what if Harry Potter had a gun? That would just ruin the whole fucking story. Because if Harry Potter had a gun, boom, he'd shoot Voldemort, whatever. It just, why would he have a gun? It doesn't make sense that he has a gun. It doesn't make sense that he would shoot him. All this stuff. There's once you introduce something silly into the equation, the whole thing kind of crumbles. When you don't treat a sport like a sport, that's when it starts to fall apart. When people get title shots out of nowhere or rematches and upon rematches with no resolution, it makes it feel like it's not a sport. Because what happens if you're in the playoffs and the Yankees beat the Red Sox? Red Sox don't get to play them again until next baseball season, and you've got to, they're gonna hold that anger in and try and take it out on them the next time they play. It wouldn't make any sense if you get eliminated from the playoffs and the next week you go, oh well, they're playing the Yankees again, and it's another 7-game series. You're like, well, why the fuck are they doing this? We just had what we thought was a decisive series, and now we don't. So that's really where the disconnect is with WWE's programming as opposed to AEW's programming. Just the fact that AEW has so many roster members, but the shows always seem fresh because of how they mix it up is just amazing to me. I'll dig into this NXT thing since I have time here. This whole NXT debacle that's gone over the last week or so, with 12 or 13 people being released, including Mercedes Martinez, local Connecticut legend, and Bronson Reed, Leon Ruff. Those two guys were literally just North American champion, the both of them, and they both got released on the same day. And the whole thing is fucking silly. I think Jake Atlas got released. There was a bunch of people that got released who was like, why would you sign? If you're not going to use them, why would you sign them? And there's an answer to that. They were hoarding talent because of AEW, or in the anticipation of AEW. This really didn't start happening with the WWE in terms of outright hoarding talent until the rumors and percolations of AEW started to come together. Once that picture became clearer, they started locking down talent like the Revival on big money contracts, like Braun Strowman on the big money contracts. They hired indie guys who were indie darlings, and they go, well, they don't really fit the WWE style, but we're going to take them to the Performance Center because they're a big name on the indies, and that's going to take a signing away from AEW, and if we can get them to work the WWE style, they're going to be, all the better for it. So it was a risk they were willing to take, but you have to realize that there's always going to be an end to that. Because WWE had such an extreme reaction, such an extreme action in signing all of these talent in 2018, 2019, and into 2020. Right before the pandemic, that is. They had such a strong reaction by signing all these people that the reaction was going to be just as strong on the other end, because once that gamble doesn't pay off, what are you going to do? Now that you've changed the perception of what NXT is supposed to be, and you've released all these people, and you say no more midgets, no more people under 30. They're only looking for main event caliber stars that they can train in NXT or in the Performance Center, and then promote them up to NXT, and then eventually promote them to the main roster. The idea of NXT being a third brand and a third legitimate world championship is down the drain. That's it. The reaction to, there were just so many things in this chain of events, starting with the AEW announcement or rumors, then all the signings and the contract extensions. I mean, they were giving Mike Bennett and Maria money because they knew they were going to go there, and they were never interested in Mike and Maria. And I hate to say it because I'm friends with them, but what I'm saying is they were never invested in Mike and Maria, meaning the higher ups in WWE were never as invested as the still important lower level people, because there are people within the organization that really like Mike Bennett. Obviously, he's been given several tryouts and a couple contracts at this point. He was in their developmental for years in OVW. And as Steve said, they were dead on arrival. These are people they gave big money contracts to and then shit all over them. I just don't understand. You had these two people who are very, very talented. Maria is not a wrestler per se. She is more of a manager, but she's good at that. She's good looking. She's articulate, college educated, WWE paid for her college education. She's not a dummy. Mike Bennett, they helped him with his rehab and all this shit. I mean, it's crazy. They do all of that, and then they go, okay, well, you're going to take your wife's last name, and then you're never going to win a match, and then you're just going to go off TV and never be used again and never spoken of again. I just don't understand how you can say you want to develop talent and then do the complete opposite. Because the beautiful thing, and I don't want to make this into an AEW versus WWE thing, but you have to understand that's the only other comparison there is right now. There is the only other comparable live weekly wrestling show that gets any kind of comparable ratings to WWE is AEW. So I can't really talk about what Impact does, and I can't really talk about what New Japan does because it's not relevant to this conversation. What AEW does with their talent, when they take somebody who's new and they put them on Elevation or they put them on Dark and they get beat up a couple times and they lose to Miro and they get choked out, or they lose to, whoever it is that's Lance Archer, and Lance Archer comes out and gives them the friggin' helicoaster or whatever it is. You still learn who they are. You learn their name. You get a sense of their character. Then they lose. And you're like, oh, well, they're not there yet. But then you get to watch them improve, because not only are these people, when they're involved in Dark and Elevation, and even when you're on main roster for Dynamite and Rampage, you're not just a talent that they're signing for. Okay, you're here for Monday or whatever day it is. You're here for this taping. Okay, here's your paycheck. Go home. You're part of a whole system where they still do promo classes. They do Dusty's promo class with Dustin. They do wrestling drills, QT and Dustin and Cody and Thunder Rosa, and other people do the training to help people improve and practice on things before the tapings. A lot of these people who are coming up on Dark and Elevation started at either the Nightmare, the Natural Wrestling one, and then or the Nightmare Factory, now known as the Factory. So the natural wrestling one is obviously Dustin Rhodes, and then the Factory / Nightmare Factory is QT and Cody. But what I'm saying is, you get to see these people develop. They don't develop in the dark. They don't develop in a performance center where nobody sees them. The easiest way to cool somebody off is to take a guy out of the indies and then take them off TV for 2 or 3 years to show them where the hard camera is. And you have to take an arm drag our way, and you have to, do whatever it is. And it's like, it's frustrating, because it would be like going to culinary school in France, and then you come back to the United States and you get hired by like a Michelin star restaurant. And they say, well, we want you to cook cheeseburgers. I'm like, well, I trained, I can make coq au vin, I can make all this stuff. And you're like, no, we just want you to make cheeseburgers. And you're like, can I choose my own ingredients? No. Can I choose what seasonings go on the burger? No. Can I choose the toppings? No. So why did you hire me, who trained in France? They go, well, because we heard you're really good. But it's like, yeah, but if I'm a French chef, am I going to be really good flipping burgers for you? You got to think about what you're looking for here. And honestly, I hate to spoil it for you. WWE is not looking for talent that can wrestle real well. That's just never what they've been looking for. They're looking for, as they're saying, no midgets, under 30, good character, potential to be a main eventer. The people that they released, they thought were either too old, too fat, too short, not in good shape, whatever it was. They found something with them, and they cut them. And now that this philosophy is in the books, what do you do if you're Adam Cole? This was the other story that broke last week, and it's still breaking, and things are changing every day when I go online. Adam Cole has a hard decision to make, because I'm sure WWE has opened up their pocketbooks. There were jokes that they released all of those NXT people to afford Adam Cole's new contract. I don't think it's true, but it would be funny if they did. They're like, we'll just cut these 12 people, and we'll make enough back to offer a big contract to Adam Cole. But I don't think that's what happened. I think those cuts were on the books already. I think they're coming. But here's the weird thing. The timing was all off. If you're having a meeting. Hey, Kat. All right.
Sorry, sweetheart.
Not a problem.
The internet totally shut off, and I didn't realize that I could use my Justin's phone.
That's all right. So here's the thing. I'm getting into this Adam Cole situation. And I want to ask you a question. You know, we all work in the same kind of business. If you called a meeting to try and get somebody to renew a contract, would you fire 12 people right before the meeting started?
No.
What were they doing? The same night they had this big meeting, one-on-one, Vince McMahon and Adam Cole.
Yep.
And they fire all these people. So then he's going to go and look. Maybe even if he had a great conversation with Vince, they worked the price out, and they were like, we came to an agreement. Then he comes out and finds out all these people got released. You don't think he's going back and going, hey, about that deal we just did?
Yeah, especially since even like with Reed, he was supposed to be called up to the main roster.
Yeah, that was crazy.
That's like unbelievable.
He was doing tryouts on Main Event. But if you remember, a couple weeks ago, people were like, Vince came and visited all of the students at the Performance Center. Isn't that so nice that the owner of the company cares? And blah, blah, blah. It's like, nope. He was there to cut people.
That's kind of scary when that happens.
Yeah, so nobody thought anything of it that week, but it was definitely tied together.
Hi.
Look at the glasses on that one. Oh, my God.
I told you they came today.
That's cool. Yeah, the whole thing is just kind of silly to me. They would release people that were like I was talking about it when you were offline. Leon Ruff and Bronson Reed were both North American champion in the last year, and you just just gone.
Well, it goes to show that first that they were that stupid to even get close to losing Adam Cole, because that shouldn't have even happened in the first place. That how do you not realize that contract is almost up?
Right, and that's why Canyon Ceman got released.
Yep.
And every time I hear that guy's name, I crack up a little bit. Especially when they say Ceman was released.
Yeah, that's a little.
But Adam Cole, the story goes, Canyon Ceman was the one that was supposed to be the one that was on top of contract dates and renewals and all that.
You just said Ceman was supposed to be on top.
Yes, he was. But apparently Ceman dropped the ball. I don't know. Oh, there's no good way to say this. Anyway, this guy, everybody assumed that his Adam Cole's contract was going to be up in 2022. Right. That was not the case. It was up at the end of July. Adam Cole just happens to be a nice enough guy.
Yeah.
To just not walk away.
Yeah.
Because here's the deal. When this shit happened back in the 90s, Lex Luger showed up at the Mall of America. Yep. The Outsiders showed up on WCW. Adam Cole, if he was if he didn't have a good relationship with Triple H and Vince McMahon and Shawn Michaels, he could have literally, his contract ended. The next week, he could have walked out on Dynamite.
Yep.
But he didn't.
But he didn't. He did the stand-up thing, yeah.
He's given him a chance. I don't know what they can offer him aside from a lot of money, because artistically and creatively, is it going to be worth it? This is the problem with taking something that you enjoy as a hobby or enjoy on a level as a fan, and then trying to make a living out of it. Is you sometimes have to sacrifice your creativity for money. And sometimes you don't want to do that because you want to uphold this moral standard that you have in your head. So does Adam Cole take the money and the less creative freedom and the likely possibility that he's going to go on Raw and get kicked in the head by Drew McIntyre and never be heard from again?
Right. And that's the other
go to AEW. Like,
factor, is the money worth that?
Right. It's because not just the money; it's the booking after the money.
Right.
Because Zack Ryder got paid. His paycheck came every single week, and he wasn't ever on TV. So the only thing he wasn't never complaining about the paycheck. He complained about sitting in catering and not being used. Right. So eventually, once you get enough money, the money thing becomes irrelevant.
Right.
And the advantage of AEW is, and not that he doesn't have friends at WWE, and that's the big pull. He's made friends, he has friends there, Kyle O'Reilly, Undisputed Era guys, although they let Bobby Fish go.
Although Bobby Fish was gone too.
Yeah.
That had to sting too.
That's unbelievable. Yeah, could you imagine one of the guys that was in your group?
Yeah, is the ones that got fired.
No.
Yeah, no. That was probably, like I said, between Reed and Bobby Fish, I think that was the two biggest shockers from that list, beyond a shadow of a doubt.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, that whole thing, it was a ridiculous, I was sitting there reading my phone. I'm like, you have too many kids. Oh my God. But do you, as Adam Cole, do you take that money and go to Raw and potentially get used bad? Or do you take the AEW? Do you roll the dice and end? Because your WWE career is over. Even if you wanted to go back, your WWE career is over at least for a couple years.
Yeah.
Do you roll the dice and go to AEW with your friends from the indies and your girlfriend? This could be one of those, how strongly do you feel about your girlfriend kind of things?
Honestly, if it was me, it probably would have been, I probably would have opted for the AEW.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would in there, when you're looking at it as an outsider, I always go, yeah, why would you, don't take the money, take the high ground. But goddamn, sometimes the money is too tempting.
It is, but again, it's the factor of what's going to happen now. Like I said, they let Samoa Joe go. They let all these people go at some point, one way or another. So,
and that's the thing, even getting rehired or having your contract renewed, it doesn't mean anything.
It doesn't mean shit. Yeah. Like I said, how long was Aleister Black off? Then they rebrand him. They put him on. They throw him in one scenario. Then he's off TV the next week. And then the following week he's gone. And then he actually had an interesting thing on a podcast this week or whatever, because when he found out he was let go, Zelina had already re-signed back. Yeah.
Can you imagine? I would be so, how fucking scummy is that?
Yeah.
The only reason she signed back with the company, aside from the money, which is still good. Money's great. But I heard that she cried when she found out that he got fired, and he started laughing because he knew he was going to go to AEW anyway.
Yeah, but she was like, she just hired me back, and this is what they did. Yep.
And now they're just
still not back on my computer. That blows.
They brought her back just to job her out.
Yeah.
It's literally people like to pretend that Vince McMahon doesn't do petty shit, like fire people on their wedding day or make people lose when they're in their own hometown or stuff like that. He does this shit all the time. And
all the time. Yeah, that's classic.
There's no defending it. The shit that he does is intentional.
Yeah.
And even
it definitely is. And that's just
and even Nick Khan, he's got a certain amount of control, but ultimately, as with everything in the WWE, the buck stops with Vince McMahon.
Right.
The weird thing, though, Vince McMahon could have stopped any of these firings by just saying, no, keep this guy. Fire 11 people, but don't fire this guy.
Yeah.
And he didn't. Vince McMahon okayed the release of Braun Strowman and Bray Wyatt, who are two WrestleMania main eventers, over the course of a month.
Yep.
But yet Eva fucking Marie still has a contract.
Yes, Eva Marie does. But now...
And truth be told, before we go a little bit more in depth, that every single one of these firings and everything, if everyone knows it or not knows it, I don't know, is all being done by the hands of Mr. Bella.
People power.
Yeah. John Laurinaitis is the one that's being responsible for telling everyone all these things. He has no control over the firings, but they're making him do the dirty work of notifying all these people. We wish you well in your future endeavors.
Yeah. I don't know why they're doing it, kid. You're just your name's on the list.
That's what even like what Aleister Blackhead said. He goes, why the fuck is Johnny Ace calling me on a Thursday?
And he's like, oh no.
and Zelina was like, oh shit.
Yeah, as soon as you see that was like a JTG. Yep. The first thing he said on Twitter after he got let go was, I never should have picked up that phone.
Yep. Well, then they could have pulled a Bischoff and they would have left you a voicemail.
Or, send it via FedEx on your wedding day.
Yeah. But you know what? Here's even a thing. Bischoff is a pain in the ass. We all know it, but we love Eric Bischoff anyway. At least he was the one that did his own firings.
Yeah.
He picked up the phone. He may have left you a message on your answering machine because he didn't have the balls to talk to you to your face, Steve Austin. But he still was the one that did it. There was no secondhand person. There was no like Ultimate Warrior thing. Like when you come through the curtain, hey, Vince told me to give you this letter,
And that's, that is you're right. Because Eric Bischoff, the buck stopped with him in WCW. And he was the one that when people say I got let go, was the one that would make the call. Like a lot of these people, when they do the interview, like their post WWE interview, even going back years, they'd go, "Oh, that fucking JR fired me." It's like JR didn't fire you. JR had to call you because Vince
JR did. Yeah, exactly, because he put you in charge of being it. Paul Heyman and Eric Bischoff did their own dirty work.
Yeah.
And regardless if you like them for the dirty work, because we all know that there were firings and let goes that we all may have not necessarily agreed with. Absolutely. You got to at least give them the credit that they at least did their own shit.
Yeah, it's another one of those corporate things where it's like Vince McMahon wants to stay the face of the company, kind of. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but have you
corporation? Well, not
You noticed that Paul hasn't been on Twitter or made a public appearance now, any way, shape, or form, since the 6th.
Since when?
The 6th. Hunter is nowhere to be seen. Hunter
Herschel. Oh, yes. Yeah, I noticed he's been silent.
He has been silent literally since the day before this happened. His Twitter is non-active.
So I'm going to put the same. I said this a couple weeks ago, and I'm going to say it again because I want to wish this into existence. Mm-hmm. I want Triple H to buy the rights to NXT from Vince McMahon and run it as his own company.
Yep.
And then if Vince McMahon wants to sell WWE and the tape library and all that horseshit, if he wants to sell it to Peacock or he wants to sell the company to Disney and put them on Disney Plus, whatever, sure, you can sell that. But NXT was never something that Vince McMahon wanted. It's not something that he had much eye on or control over. And he never paid attention to it at all.
Nope.
Until it was time to compete with AEW.
Yep.
So now we're just, this is, as I was saying earlier when you were offline, this is the result of a whole chain of events.
Right. And I'm sorry, with them now with AEW having the Friday night show, that now they want to make SmackDown 3 hours now to compete with. God help me.
I would never. I can't watch a 3-hour Raw. I'm not watching a 3-hour SmackDown.
You need to make NXT stronger because NXT is
they still
the only
don't understand.
thing that's
it's not the
going to
length
compete.
Of the show.
Yep, NXT is the only thing that's going to compete with AEW numbers. They may not win, but they're not going to win.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's also the philosophy of AEW and WWE is different because AEW is being run as a traditional wrestling company in the way that a wrestling company has been run forever, where the profitability of the company, in addition to television rights, is also the merchandise, the pay-per-view buys, the live ticket sales, all that. There's a graph, and I think Brandon Thurston from WrestleNomics did it. Right now, and it was proven through the pandemic with the TV rights and all this stuff. But as of right now, and actually over the last 9 years, since 2012, the profits of WWE, the amount, they're still making profits, obviously, from ticket sales and purchases and all that, merchandise, whatever. But with the way TV rights have increased, they literally they don't have to sell another ticket to anything, and they'll still be profitable until, until the Saudi Arabia deal and the NBC deal run out, and the Fox deal.
And the Fox deal, of course.
They could run. So they're running it like it's a media company now. They're not particularly worried about the quality of the wrestling. They're more or the quality of even the show itself. They're just worried about producing 8 to 12 hours of fresh new content every week because they signed a contract with a streaming service to provide XYZ number of hours of content every week.
Yeah, we're watching the exact same matches every single week and the exact same people and the same happy horse shit. So, or unhappy horse shit, I should say.
Yeah.
So
And
how does that factor into it?
You would think if you were doing, so much programming every week between NXT, the main roster stuff, NXT UK, all this, that you would diversify your roster, or instead of releasing 100 people over the last year, literally 100 people have been released in the last year by WWE, not even backstage staff. Utilize some of them. I'm not saying what the philosophy that they're saying about and the new NXT, no midgets, nobody under 30, has to be good-looking main event caliber people that we're bringing in to train. They don't realize how bad of a philosophy that is because not everybody is a world champion. Look at Leon Ruff. Leon Ruff will never be a world heavyweight champion just based on his size. But he has a charisma about him. People like him. He's a skinny little underdog, so people want to root for him.
Exactly.
And he doesn't ever have to aspire to be that world champion. He can just be a solid undercard guy.
Not your favorite thing to say or whatever, but you could easily make like a Daniel Bryan movement out of him. 100%.
Yeah. Or even like you could take
1, 2, 3
and
kids.
again, you could get him
X-Pac the kid.
Right, yeah, X-Pac, little guys can get over, but even just like the philosophy.
With the exception of the ass tear, obviously, but
Yeah. But the philosophy of just saying all we want is main event talent is wrong because you really don't know who's main event talent until like
they get out there.
Yeah, once they get out there, like AEW Fuego del Sol.
Yeah.
He's a nobody. He's a lucha, he's the only lucha libre wrestler from Alabama. Right? But they showed him I think he's won a single match his entire 2 years at AEW. But you learn about him on the show. You feel sorry for him because he gets beat up. And then when he makes his comebacks, you want him to win. And he's not going to be world champion. But if they ever said Fuego del Sol is going to challenge for the TNT title, I'd go, yeah, because Fuego has been working his ass off. He deserves it.
It's like the same reaction like when with what's his name when he came back to NXT a couple of weeks ago, No Way Jose.
Yeah.
He's never going to be world champion. He's going to be mid-card his entire career. But you know what? At least I remember from when we grew up or how even like in the mid-cards with like old school WCW and WWE, sometimes the mid-card matches were the more fun matches to watch.
Always. But think about it. DDP was not a main eventer. He was a mid-card guy. He was on the opening match of some of those, the pre-show main event on TBS. He wasn't even on the pay-per-view at some points. And eventually the crowd got behind him, the people backstage got behind him, and became a star.
Yeah.
I mean, think about, like, I remember from back then, sure, you remember your Macho Mans and your Hulk Hogans and your Warriors and guys like that. But then you think about, if you just said, oh, name some of, your favorite gimmicks, not even your favorite wrestlers, just some gimmicks you remember. And you remember, like, the Goon. And you remember
Coco Beware,
Yeah.
Junkyard Dog,
Glacier.
Duggan, Roddy Piper. Hello,
Yeah.
Piper never held a title
No.
until 1991, 92 when he became Intercontinental Champion.
Yeah.
But
just
you can
over-
name every WrestleMania match, everything he freaking did throughout the entire 80s of his career.
Yeah, and even looking like a guy like Hacksaw Jim Duggan, there was a point where he was a main eventer, and the same thing with Roddy Piper. There were points where they were main eventers, but when they weren't main eventers, because they were being treated the right way, you could still use them on TV.
Right.
Now, legends just get like kicked in the head by Randy Orton or whatever, or they treat
and
them
then they lose their jobs.
Yes, and then they get fired. Randy Orton is the forbidden door. He kicks them out.
Randy Orton is no longer the legend killer. He's the contract killer.
Yeah, seriously. He should go with that. I mean, shit.
Because I hope Matt Riddle still has a job next week. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh, my God. Could you imagine? What if Riddle got RKO'd out of existence?
He got RKO'd last night. So,
yes, that's what,
I said that would have happened. I said it to Justin. I go, oh, shit. Riddle's going to get a call from John Laurinaitis this week.
Bro. Hey, bro. What's up, bro?
Tell me, though, but I'm sorry to go off track to Rob, but funniest moment for me last night was he goes, bro, you can't be serious. He goes, I am serious, and don't call me bro. I'm like, oh, shit, Randy Orton just pulled a line from Airplane.
I know. I was just going to say, don't call me Shirley. I did not watch 3 hours of Raw. All I know is that the goddamn doll winked.
Yep. Lily winked and scared the shit out of Dewdrop, and literally, I think 2 or 3 of my kids were about to shit my bed too. Like,
oh,
they
okay.
were like,
I mean, at least somebody finds it entertaining.
Yeah, they were like, what? Like they were freaking out over the freaking doll. It was actually pretty funny.
I can't imagine what that looked like live.
But so all they did was, because Lily was on
the top turnbuckle.
She was on the top turnbuckle the entire match. Dewdrop goes into the corner, and then they just pan in on Lily.
Yeah.
And she winks. And then Dewdrop with the, like, it was a total edit.
Oh, yeah. But what I'm saying,
I think Autumn could have done it better, to be honest, because she's like the queen of editing now. But, like, and then Eva Marie's like, the doll didn't wink, and she's smacking Dewdrop upside the head. I'm like, dude, stop. This is bad. And they got to get Dewdrop out of Earthquake. John Tenta needs his clothes back.
This poor girl. Because
Piper's so damn good.
And this is what I'm saying, Adam Cole. Adam Cole, I know you don't somebody who knows Adam Cole has to listen to the show and get it over to him. Don't go back. They're going to you will be the male Dewdrop. They're going to put you in a leprechaun costume and like make you Sheamus's manager or something.
He is wrestling Kyle tonight.
But literally what they'll do is they'll say, oh, he's short. We'll call him Shorty A. Or like they would bring him. Here's what they would do. They would bring him to SmackDown, and they'd have Michael Cole come out and introduce his nephew, Adam Cole.
Oh, God.
And then every week, it's Cole time. It's like, oh, no.
And you know what? I don't know if Michael Cole is getting senile, but he's getting worse and worse by the week, okay? Last week, it was Bianca Belair was taking on Zelina Vega. And he goes, we're getting our match tonight. It's the rematch we've been waiting for since WrestleMania. Bianca Belair is taking on Sasha Banks tonight. Pat McAfee goes, you're 3 weeks early. That's like the 3rd time he's done that on a live show, that he's calling the wrong names of wrestlers for matches. And Pat McAfee's like, what the fuck are you doing? Which personally I love. But,
well, yes, you have to call him out on it if you're Pat McAfee.
Yeah.
There's no way you don't do it. But like,
Did you watch SmackDown by the way yet or no?
No, I was on vacation last week. How was it?
Okay. So when Rick Boogs and Shinsuke Nakamura, because he still stands on the chair whenever on the announcer table. This week his leg was an air guitar, and the fans behind him were telling him to like putting their hands up, whatever. He kind of started crowd surfing. It was freaking hilarious.
Oh boy, he's gonna full on by the end of this week after week. Like eventually, he's gonna crowd surf around the whole.
I hope so, because he's. I will admit this freely. Besides seeing that and Edge and like the Roman Reigns stuff, Pat McAfee is pretty much the reason why I watch SmackDown.
Yeah, and I'm glad that there's somebody like that that'll keep people intrigued. Like that's why he's a good commentator because he's just he is a fan. He talks about it like a fan.
I'll admit this really, one of my least favorite songs in the world is White Stripes, Seven Nation Army. I actually kind of am like, okay, when I hear it now, I think of Pat McAfee. So I'm kind of like, okay.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Handle this. I've hated that song for years. But it's kind of cool now to think, okay, it's not that song anymore. Now it's just Pat McAfee's song. I'm good.
Hey, yeah. And I hope that there's a point where Pat McAfee comes out and has another match.
Yeah, because he did good. He really did.
Really good. He did a friggin' flip off he did a dive off the top rope, all kinds of shit.
Yeah. He was really good. I was impressed. It's kind of like almost like a Bad Bunny type thing. Oh, so you didn't watch last night, right?
No, I did not watch. What happened?
The Miz can walk.
Oh, yes, I heard something about Damian Priest is dry and Johnny Drip Drip is going to make him moist.
Yeah, he's like, moist you up. And he goes, no. And he's standing up and he goes. And then he goes to look at him. He just goes and runs out of the way. It was actually pretty funny. And then Damian Priest then does a bro kick on Sheamus.
Okay.
Yeah. So interesting because we know that match is happening. We know Damian Priest is now probably going to be the U.S. champion come SummerSlam, but
maybe I would. I hope so because he's another guy that they signed from Ring of Honor. They put him in NXT for actually not that long, all things considered. Some people were there for fucking ever.
Right.
And then they brought him up. He had a he had a good spot with the Bad Bunny thing. And then it's just kind of just been Damian Priest, a guy on the show.
Yeah. So this is the downfall. They kept saying, watch when we get back on the road, when we're back live, all these great things are going to happen.
The wait and see
be a
thing
new
never
WWE like you've never seen before. You're right, because we don't know who's fucking working there anymore from week to week.
Yep. And especially now, the women's roster is actually, for the main roster women, is incredibly thin. I want to say there's 14 women on Raw and 11 on SmackDown or something like that. It's just crazy low.
I didn't even know that there was that many. So
right, because they only have 2 or 3 of them on every week.
Right, because you have Charlotte. You see Charlotte, Rhea, and Nikki ASH.
And that's, I hate to say it, I don't want anybody to lose their job, but if there's anybody that's going to get fired in the next round of budget cuts, it's Nikki.
But have you seen the crowd reaction she's getting lately?
Is it actually is it over?
It's over. She's getting a positive reaction from the crowds. Like more than half of the audience is digging.
Well, good.
I'm hoping it's the fact that Nikki Cross is finally getting a push for all the work that she's put in, as opposed to the character. Because as Nikki as a wrestler, she totally deserves to finally have a run in the spot. Because we had this conversation 2 months ago when she beat Charlotte and when she beat Rhea and everything. They were like, "Oh, it's so great to see Nikki finally having a push."
Yeah,
that part is phenomenal. This Molly Holly 2.0 Blue Blazer wannabe shit.
Yeah, the Hurricane, whatever. Yeah,
has got to go.
She goes, "Oh, the Hurricane was a big influence on my character." You think?
Really? Why would we think that?
Shit. You basically took Mighty Molly and updated it for the modern audience.
Yeah, Mighty Molly with the blue Blazers mask. Yeah.
Yeah. And then she could have Dewdrop as her sidekick.
That would even be better than freaking Eva Marie. Well, let's see it now.
And they could have a whole.
What scares me? You know what really scares me?
What scares you?
We know Natalia's out now for 6 to 8 weeks, right?
Yeah, she got injured.
Courtesy of Dewdrop, but it was an accident, whatever.
Right.
But now Tamina is defending and is doing the titles by herself. They're not going to let her hold both titles for 6 to 8 weeks.
You would hope not.
The only tag team situation we got going on right now, really, so to speak, is Dewdrop and Eva fucking Marie.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
That's what this is what scares me. And that really scares me.
Oh.
So, Lily, as much as we think Lily is annoying and ridiculous, Lily needs to work her magical powers to make sure that doesn't happen.
We're having such a good podcast. And then right at the end, you have to drop the worst case scenario bomb on me of Eva Marie being a champion in WWE, holding a title without even knowing how to wrestle.
She has how many wins under her belt right now without knowing how to wrestle?
But as Johnny Ace doesn't know how to wrestle, but she knows how to get on top. People power.
Yeah, see, I think we can blame this all on Gene Okerlund and Vince McMahon when they said anything can happen in the WWE.
Anything can happen.
Because this is what's happening.
Literally, this is literally anything. If we, if you told somebody 10 years ago, they wouldn't believe you.
We have Mickie James gone. We have Ruby Riott gone. We have which actually I think Ruby Riott actually even just signed to AEW also.
Yeah, there's rumors she's well on her way to AEW.
But you let go of like you said, there's only 14 on one, 11 on the other. You let so many real talented wrestlers. I can't even believe I'm going to put her in the same equation, but even freaking Lana was improving.
Yeah, and Lana wasn't and here's the thing. Again, for somebody like Lana, she doesn't need to wrestle. Nobody's forcing you to wrestle. Just be a manager. They were forcing her to wrestle. You know what I mean? They could just have her be a manager, and she'd be fine at it.
Yeah.
But yeah, they released legitimate women's talent while re-signing somebody who proved several years ago that they don't have any talent. And they don't have an interest in they shouldn't even have an interest in improving. That's the problem. It's insulting to wrestlers, aspiring wrestlers. It's insulting to fans. It's insulting to everyone.
It sucks altogether. Yep. Now, of course, after 7:00, my internet comes back on.
Of course. But it is after 7:00, so we should get going. Hope Steve has a nice rest of his vacation. Kat, thank you for joining me tonight.
Sorry, I missed about good 15, 20 minutes of it.
That's all right. They got my solo show where I complained about everything. So you can go back.
The good thing is with your stand-up comedy and with your ring announcer, you're used to being a one-man show. So
I'm never without something to say, that's for sure.
Definitely.
But if you enjoy our podcast, join us next week, 6 p.m. on Eastern Time every Tuesday. We're live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Periscope, anywhere you can go live. Basically, we're going live. Follow us on social media at Tag Me A Date. That's Tag Me A Date with no spaces. It's all one word. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, everywhere online under at Tag Me A Date. Twitch.tv/War Report is our Twitch channel. If you prefer an audio version rather than the video version, well, first of all, if you like the videos, you can go to youtube.com, type in Tag Me A Date in the search bar, and that will bring you to our page where you can like the page, hit subscribe, hit the bell to get notifications. If you prefer not watching a video, if you prefer audio only, we have lots of options for you. You can go to your favorite podcast app of choice, such as Stitcher, SoundCloud, Spotify, Google Play Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts. Search either for The War Report or Tag Me A Date, and you will see the podcast come up. Hit subscribe, and the most recent edition of the podcast will show up about an hour after we go off the air on Tuesdays. So you can take the show on the road with you, in the car, in the gym, if you listen in the shower. I don't know what you do. You listen to your podcast wherever you want. But we will see you guys next week for another edition of the War Report, Tuesday evening, 6 p.m. on Eastern Time. Thank you again, Kat. We'll see you everybody next week. Hey.